I'll start with the blessing here. Bless the Lord, the Blessed One. Blessed is the Lord, the Blessed One, for all eternity. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has selected us from all the peoples and given us his Torah. Blessed are you, O Lord, giver of the Torah. And it said, in honor of reading God's word, the people stood, so we can stand. And the portion I'm going to be reading from today is Exodus chapter 17, starting in verse 8. Exodus 17, verse 8. The Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, "Choose some of our men and go out and fight the Amalekites tomorrow." Go fight the Amalekites, period. "Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands." So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered, and Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning, but whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held his hands up, one on one side and one on the other, so that his hands remained steady until sunset. So Joshua overcame the Amalekite army with the sword. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Write this on a scroll as something to be remembered, and make sure that Joshua hears it, because I will completely blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven." Moses built an altar and called it, "The Lord is my banner." He said, "For hands were lifted up to the throne of the Lord. The Lord will be at war against the Amalekites from generation unto generation." Blessing after the reading. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who gives us a Torah through his servant Moses, and the realization of grace and truth through his servant Yeshua, our Master and Messiah. Blessed are you, O Lord, giver of the Torah, grace and truth. Thank you for standing. So there was a whole lot going on in this passage that I had for this week. Started all the way back in Exodus chapter 13. A lot of crazy stuff going on in this passage. We have the crossing of the Red Sea, the Song of Moses that Miriam sang, the waters of Marah and Elam, and the whole deal with the manna coming in, and then the quail, and the water from the rock. And then to finish up the portion, I had what I read to you. So I wanted to focus on verse 10 of chapter 17. I'll read it again. It says, "So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered, and Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning, but whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning." So when I was reading that, I was just trying to picture what was going on here. You got this battle, like an actual battle that's happening. The Israelite army and the Amalekite army battling it out. You got Moses and the other two guys who went up with him up to this mountain, and they are watching this battle take place. And it says, as long as Moses' hands were lifted up, the Israelites were taking him out. And as soon as he got tired and his hands started dropping, the Amalekites started to win. And, I was just thinking about this. It also then occurred to me that every time Moses was doing the miracles, I guess, in Egypt, every time God was working through Moses and he performed a miracle, it says his arms were outstretched to do whatever, like parting the sea. And so I think there's something to this idea of us when we stretch out our hands to God. Major things were happening here in this situation when Moses raised his hands. On the earth, physically, you had these this war. I mean, people were literally dying in this war. It wasn't just an imaginary battle taking place. There was also a battle in the heavenlies that was taking place too. I'm sure with this situation, so anyways, to get back, I think there's something more to just raising our hands, and I think what we realize, there's something in the heavenlies happening with God and the evil one. There's a spiritual battle, and we all know that, but I think it's important for us to realize, a lot of times when we're singing praise and worship, it's like, that's the time when we raise our hands and worship God. But it shouldn't be limited to that. In our prayer time, we should not be hindered, and, things might be happening that we don't realize, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Another thing I got out of this also is, we should be looking to God as our, the Bible gives us a description of, we should be like children, and He is our Father. And, anybody who's around kids, what happens? They run up to mom or dad and they go like this, right? They want to be held, or, they want something, but that's a sign of what we should be like too. And when our hands are raised to God, it shouldn't just be when we're asking Him for stuff. It should be when we're thanking Him and praying to Him. That's kind of a weird feeling for me, in America and, this culture, we should be independent, right? Like move out as soon as you can, all that kind of stuff. You should be independent. But, the Bible teaches that we should be dependent on God for all the things that we need, and be thanking Him for all the things that we have too. I want to just read verse 16 here too. Kind of sums this up. I'll start 15. Moses built an altar and called it, "The Lord is my banner." He said, "For hands were lifted up to the throne of the Lord. The Lord will be at war against the Amalekites from generation to generation." So it shows us in this verse that it's because of those hands were lifted that Moses, when he was lifting his hands, that's what made the difference in this situation. And we can also see that Moses wasn't up there by himself. We can see this as, brothers helping each other out too. Moses wasn't able to hold his hands up all day long. It said he grew tired and his hands started to fall, and that's when the Israelites started losing. But it says here that seeing who went up with him, Hur and Aaron, they were up there helping them out. They were part of the situation here too. It wasn't just Moses. And so in that situation, we can kind of see, I guess, brother helping brother type thing. So anyhow, I hope that was encouraging. That's what I got out of this for this week, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.